Creations. This is episode 175. And in honor of episode 175, because that's kind of a milestone, I'm only 25 episodes away from 200. Actually, if you count my Wednesday podcasts, I'm probably up around close to the 400 mark. But, well, yeah, probably between 350 and 400. But anyway, just counting the Saturday podcasts, I'm up to 175. I want to say thank you to all of you who stop by each week. Thank you for coming back and for talking and chatting back and forth and posting over on Facebook. And it is lovely getting to know all of you. If you haven't already, please click that little red subscribe button down below. And if you click the little bell notification next to it, that will let you know anytime I post a video, which is Saturdays and almost every Wednesday. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get started. I'll tell you about the giveaway a little bit later in the podcast. So I have 3 finished objects this week. The first is actually, I guess if you counted them individually, I would have 9 finished objects this week if I counted them individually, but I'm not going to, because I have 7 of these little scrubbies. Now these, I felt like I was literally crocheting pantyhose because you can see the color of them. They very much resemble pantyhose color. But anyway, these are just 2 rows. I changed them a little bit. Last week, I really tore my hands up with those navy blue ones that I made. They were so dense and thick all the way around, and I did 3 rows as a result. I used a 6mm on those, and I had cut the netting probably about 3 inches. This time I cut the netting about 2 inches, and I used an N hook, which is a 10mm, and I only did 2 rows, and I'll be honest, my hands survived this, and it was a little bit easier. But here's a close-up of it. And these are really super scratchy. And I bought more of this, not the scratchy kind, but that you'll see that in acquisitions. I bought a little finer mesh, which I will be using for something else. But I have a total of 7 of these. I should not run out anytime soon. And you can put them in the dishwasher on the top rack, like to sanitize them and clean them. So, yeah, reusable Brillo pads. So, yes, that's project number 1. Project number 2, I think it's kind of cool. If you remember, I did a Dorset button tutorial a couple weeks ago. If you missed it, you can click the link right here and that will take you over to it. But I started experimenting with it a little bit because I thought I want to see what I could do with a little bit of crochet and some texture and some color. I'm so excited with what this turned. This came out better than I imagined. Look at this. Now, this is actually, all of these little sections here are crocheted. They're double crochet. What I did was the basic technique for the Dorset buttons, in that I wrapped the whole ring and I put the spokes on and I did the hub. And then I made sure that I got the hub in the center. And then I would do the lacing where you go around. I did that like 2 or 3 rows, which gave me a foundation to put double crochet stitches in between all of the little spokes that were formed across here. And then I would go around and lace 2 to 3 more rows and then double crochet on that. So there it is. And I was really excited with how this looks. And then I put a row of shell stitch right around the edge. So not sure if this is going to be a pin or if I might make some other ones and put them together. I'm not sure yet, but I had a lot of fun doing this and I was really excited with how well it turned out. Now my third finished object I'm also really excited about. It is my mosaic bucket bag. Now I did film it down in my kitchen, so I did not have to carry it upstairs because I'm actually using it as my pocketbook, and I tend to carry a little bit of a heavy pocketbook. So I'm going to insert the footage of me showing you the mosaic bucket bag. My last project, or finished object, is my mosaic button bag, or my mosaic bucket bag. Now, if you were watching Facebook, you have already seen a picture of it, but let me tell you a little bit about it and how well it turned out. This is a free pattern with a 4-part tutorial on the Yarn and Chai podcast. It was very easy to follow. There is a smaller bag. This is the classic, in case you're wondering. It has an oval shaped bottom, and this is the mosaic section, which is a spike stitch, and then the top part here has grommets, and this is a drawstring, so it pulls shut. The overall size, it is about between 3 and 4 inches deep, and across the bottom here is about 9 inches, and across the top it's about maybe 10, and the depth from here to here is about 10 to 11 inches. I really love the bag, and it holds all of my junk, so I'm really excited about that. And last week I said I had made a mistake and missed some of the mosaic stitches, and Kim, that I have coffee and tea with, had told me to try to do a duplicate stitch, which is what you do with knitting. And I did that, and it worked perfect. So let me show you where the error is. I have to really look to even find it. It's right here. You can see it's a little, you can just barely notice the difference right here. That's where the correction was fixed. I like the bag. The only thing I would change if I were to make it again, which I probably will, it calls for D-rings on the side. And this side, it's working perfect. On this side, my D-ring keeps spinning around. And so if I were to make it again, rather than doing a D-ring, I would probably get an O-ring or an oval shaped ring to work for it instead, so that it wouldn't slide. But otherwise, I love the bag. I've been using it. The hardware that I've got, which is a little on the overkill side because it's kind of hefty, this came off of some luggage that was getting thrown away, so I salvaged it. And the grosgrain ribbon here that is part of the drawstring was some I already had. So that is the mosaic bucket bag. Now, my works in progress, I only have one knitting project and one crochet project going right now. I'm trying to finish everything, so I only have like 2 things going at once, because otherwise I just get a little overwhelmed. The first is the baby blanket, or the remake of my baby blanket for my grandson. And he was over at my house for music lessons yesterday. And he asked me, says, Grandma, how much closer are you to getting my blanket done? So I really hope to get it finished this week. But you can see where I was last week. And I have gone approximately 5 inches since then. So all total, you can see the whole blanket here. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way done. This is the rest of the yarn that I have left. This is just Red Heart. I think it was Super Saver. It's not horrible, but it's not soft yarn. But this is what the original was made out of. Same color, same pattern, everything. So it's a duplicate of what he had already. So I'm just going to be pretty much finishing up this, and that will be the end of it. So I'm about 3/4 of the way, and I'm hoping to get it finished so he can have it next week. My other work in progress is crochet, and I decided I would try crocheting a pair of socks. I've never crocheted socks before. I've always knitted my socks. I mean, I've crocheted like little slippery footy things, but I mean like real socks. I've seen a lot of you make crocheted socks before, so I thought, let's give it a try. So the pattern I'm using is a free pattern. I got it over on Love Crafts, and it is Bernat's Basic Sock Basic Socks. I think it's just called Bernat's Basic Socks. What interested me with it as I'm doing this is the construction of it is very similar to a cuff down sock if you were knitting it. You start with, of course, the cuff. I'm working on the second one right now. And I'm doing this crocheting through the back loop, so that way it looks ribbed and it's got some elasticity to it. So you do that, and then you turn sideways and you go from here and build across. That part is not like knitting. Knitting, you just keep going straight. But yeah, this one you start with it's all single crochet. So you start with a single crochet through the back loop so it's springy, and then I will start crocheting along the bottom edge here and work my way down. Now I have a partial one done, and this is where I found it interesting because you actually are doing, on the heel flap, you're doing the spike stitch, which is the same stitch that was done on the mosaic bucket bag. So as far as construction goes, it's very similar to a German short row heel. It has the heel flap here, and then actually I said German short row. It's closer to a heel flap and gusset, because here is the back of my heel, like where your Achilles tendon is. These are just little ankle socks because I don't like socks that go up my leg. I thought it was really funny when I started shaping the heel that my color change fell right where I shaped the heel. So you can see exactly right here where I did my heel shaping. And then you are starting to do decreases. Okay, here it is. See if I can turn it this way. Okay, here is my heel right here. And now I'm coming across the instep. Now this is not a completed sock, as you can see, because this is where the rest of my foot would be. And there is decreases right along here, and they fall at an angle just the same as they would if you were doing heel flap and gusset. Now, the reason this is not a quite finished sock is because I'm used to figuring out amounts with knitting. If I saw this much yarn left, I would go, yes, I've got plenty for the 2 socks. I haven't learned how to gauge that with crochet yet because it's still fairly new. I mean, it's not new, but it doesn't come instinctively as far as knowing whether this is going to be enough or not. And I didn't want to have one sock complete and then one sock looking a little on the weird side. So what I decided to do is I stopped almost at the end of my decreases at my heel. And then I'm going to do this sock to the same size and then judge how much I've got left. So I can kind of, once I get to that part, I'll divide the skein of yarn up and see if it looks like I've got enough. If I don't have enough, then I will probably stripe it mixed with this, and I have some gray and some black and some white yarn. I don't have that kind of green or the red that would match with it. But I think I can just kind of stripe it in. So even though they'll look a little odd, at least they'll look like they're oddly matched. So that's the plan there, at least. So I'm excited. I am using a size 3mm hook, as you can see here. Okay, and stick around for acquisitions because I've got an interesting segment on the history of the boy crochet hooks, and there's a reason why. So yeah, anyway, yeah, we're talking vintage crochet hooks. So just stay tuned for the acquisitions, but right now it is time for show and tell. Now for acquisitions, I did film it downstairs because it seemed kind of silly to carry it upstairs to bring it back downstairs again. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of sewing in my future, especially in light of what is going on here in the US with the coronavirus. My workplace closed for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to be home a lot. So I'm hoping to at least not waste that time. I'm hoping to get a lot of my spring cleaning done and get some good quality videos out to you guys, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And I'm also hoping to really get into some of my projects. I really want to finish the knitting project so that I can get started on the pattern for the advent calendar that I've got the yarn from Christmas. So I'm hoping to get to work on that. In my acquisitions, I have a couple of really interesting things. So I thought I would show them to you. The first thing is I got 4 rolls of this. This is tulle. And this is from the Dollar Tree. You did have to buy it in a package of 4, but they're $1 a piece. They are 6 inches wide, and I believe they're 8 feet long. No, they're 15 feet long, because it's 5 yards, so it's 15 feet long, 3 feet wide. This is a finer mesh than what I made these more scratchier dish scrubbies out of. And this is just crocheted into a little ring. There's tons of tutorials out there to do this. You can also knit them, and I have knitted some before. I've knitted with this before. This would be difficult to knit with, maybe. Although I guess you could do it. But anyway, yeah, this is definitely more scratchy. This is a finer mesh. This is more like the mesh that they use for weddings, like for your veil, things like that. It's a finer mesh. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut it this direction. So I'll have 2 lengths of 15 feet each, roughly 3 inches wide. And then I will use those and either knit and crochet, maybe a little of both. And these make a little bit softer scrubby, which seems to work well on like Formica tubs, like for cleaning in your bathroom and things. Or if you have, you want to use them for your sink, but you don't want the scratchier variety, gives you another option. So I have 4 rolls of that. We're going to have lots of these, I think. Then I got a bunch of scrap material samples from Joann's. They were upholstery samples, so they actually had to be cut off of the hanger. They were riveted. So they're roughly, I'd say about a foot across, and lengthwise they're about 9 inches. None of them are identical, okay? So that's what makes you think, well, what do you want to do with something like that? But here's my thought. I picked up some that are kind of coordinating together, like these. This one is not as coordinating, but I'm thinking I could make project bags out of these and like put these 2 together. Whoops. Put these 2 together for the outside of the bag, and maybe use something like this and another one combined with it for the inside of the bag, and they could be reversible. So yeah, so it's a thought. But anyway, I'm not going to show all of them to you, but I have a stack of ones to do. So I have some that are all kind of coordinating with green and some that are more browns. So I'm going to be working on that hopefully in the next couple of weeks to put that together. Then I got something really interesting. A lady at our church is friends with a man who is in his 90s. He's been living independently, and actually he still drives. You would never guess the man is in his 90s. He doesn't seem like he is. He seems like he's in his 70s, but he's in his 90s. And he decided of his own choosing to go into an assisted living at this point in his life. He didn't want his children to deal with it. So he was cleaning out his house when he was downsizing to move. And he asked her, did she know anybody who crocheted? He had his wife's old crochet hooks. So she just happened to think of me, which I really, really appreciate. And so she showed up in church, and it was kind of something to laugh at, because here she showed up with a cigar container, this is a metal cigar container. Yeah, it says Black Watch on it. So, yeah, it's Robert Burns Black Watch cigars. But anyway, his wife apparently kept them, and it's perfect. They fit, this is like made for it. It's like a perfect container. She must have been doing the crocheting that you do with like doilies and things, because here's the crochet hooks. They are all the real tiny ones. I actually used one of them to work on that Dorset button that I showed at the beginning of the episode. And yeah, they are really, really tiny. So I started wondering, because even the length of them seems shorter than today's crochet hooks, because I would say this is probably about 5 inches. They just seem small. And one of them said 10 cents. It's actually on the flat section here. These are all boy crochet hooks, by the way. On the flat section, it actually says 10 cents. Okay. There's another one that says 15 cents. So I thought, well, I wonder how old these are, because that's awfully cheap for crochet hooks. They must be pretty old. So I did a little research on the history of boy crochet hooks. So not going to go into this overly long, but I just thought it was interesting, and since that is one of the big name brands for crochet hooks, I thought you guys would maybe enjoy it. So here goes. I am reading from a little script because I'd never remember all the details. Boy was founded in 1906. They made a thing called a rotary case, which was a clock with a cabinet, and the cabinet was meant to store your sewing supplies. So they did not start out as a crochet company or knitting needle company, anything like that. They started out by producing not sewing cases, but sewing cabinets with a clock in them, called a rotary case. In 1917, they came out with their first line of steel crochet hooks. They sold for 5 cents each. So the one that I have that is 10 cents, I'm guessing is probably, I'll have to try to do a little more research. I'm thinking it's from the late 30s, early 40s. Anyway, their first crochet hooks and knitting needles sold for 5 cents each. So in 1921, they started producing sewing needles. And throughout the 1920s, they added varieties of sizes to their crochet hooks and their knitting needles. In 1923, they came out with a set of interchangeable crochet hooks where the handles were made out of celluloid. Now, I kind of thought this was funny because, okay, if you don't know what celluloid is, most of you probably do, but celluloid is pre-plastic, and it was flammable and could explode. It could be very volatile. If you have heard of Bakelite, things like that, some of those were a form of celluloid. Anyway, so yeah, celluloid handles. It's like, can you imagine crocheting really fast and having smoke coming out the other side of your crochet hook, or there goes your project? That would be bad. So yeah, I kind of got the giggles over that one. But anyway, yes, they had interchangeable crochet hooks in 1923. In 1925, the flats. Now, when I say the flats, that's on your crochet hooks. The little section that is flat, that's called the flats. Okay. The flats started saying made in the US, or made in the USA. And they also would have, and these actually, all of these say it, where the symbol is, it says boy, it has the size of the crochet hook on each side. So it might say, this one in particular says 6 boy 6. And then the other side of it says made in the USA. This might be one of the older ones. I'm not real sure. But anyway, they started doing that in 1925. And like I said, during this whole time period, they were adding different sizes of crochet hooks. They started out with a smaller group of sizes, and they started widening the selection. By 1926, they were also adding embroidery hoops to the list. 1930, they added rug punch needles. I remember using those in the 70s, where you'd have a burlap canvas and the yarn would thread through this punch thing, and you would kind of punch it and it formed loops. through the burlap and created rugs. 1932 to 1935, they lacquered aluminum. Their lacquered aluminum were discontinued. So that at some point they switched to aluminum needles. In 1932, they started using and selling embroidery punch needles. They also started importing circular knitting needles at that point. 1934, they came up with stitch markers and stitch holders. In 1935, they came up with crochet forks, and I had to look that up and thought, what is a crochet fork? It's basically your hairpin lace frame. They called them forks. They also started coming up with plastic for the hooks at that point. In 1939, they made a selection of needles that were made, or hooks that were made out of wood, and they were called red birchwood hooks. So if you have those, they're very rare. In 1942, because of World War II and the rationing, they stopped nickel plating the crochet hooks. Instead, they plated them with black. So if you have knitting needle, or if you have crochet hooks, and I guess they probably knitting needles as well, that are black from Boy, they probably date to World War II, and they are relatively rare. I was sitting at our knit night last night, and one of the ladies said she had her mother or grandmother's crochet hooks, and she had some black ones. I said, hang on to those. Those are probably worth something, because they really are not, there's not that many of them around anymore. They stopped making aluminum hooks during World War II, and they also stopped making steel hooks at one point as well. In 1944 and 1945, they reinstated using the steel, nickel, and aluminum hooks at that point. 1947, they came out with DPNs, which are double-pointed needles, which are used for knitting. In 1949, they started coloring their aluminum crochet hooks. So we have colored crochet hooks now, but as you can see, the old ones, no matter what size they were all silver or nickel plated. They were generally steel and nickel plated. So they started adding color to that in 1949. In 1955, they started making yarn bobbins. In 1957, they started making the carbone rings, which are what you use for the Dorset buttons. 1957, they also started making cable needles. They're also called cable hooks. They started making latch hook, the latch hooks for latch hook rugs in 1958. And in 1961, they had flexible knitting needles. I'm thinking these are plastic ones that are kind of bendy. I actually have some, I used to have some that were very bendy. I stopped using them. I got them at a yard sale or something, and I stopped using them because they were so bent that they were really hard to knit with. They were like straight needles, but they were a real flexible kind of plastic. I'm guessing that's what they're talking about. So in 1967, they established crochet hook standards, I guess, as far as the sizing goes. 1983, now we're moving into more modern times, they designed comfort hooks, which are probably more like what we're used to using today. And in 1989, they merged with Wright, with a company named Wright, which then merged with a company named Consew in the year 2000. So now all of Boy's products are actually made in China. So if you have anything that is made in the USA, it predates 1989. So just a short little history that I thought was kind of interesting, that I thought I would share with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. So now it's time for now in our Come and Get It section today, you guys saw a lot of videos this week. There were a lot of good sales, especially from Lion Brand, and yeah, there was a lot of sales from Lion Brand. And when I see those sales come across, if I think they're for a limited time, or I think they're a really, really good sale that might run out, or I just don't know how long that sale's going to run, that's why I put videos out, because if you guys want it, I don't want you to have to, miss out. So anyway, full disclosure, I do get a small commission out of any of the sales if you click through the link down below. And I appreciate it if you do that, because that does help support the channel. It helps with giveaways, and so I couldn't afford to do things out of my pocket. So anyway, that's where it goes. It goes back into the channel for the most part. So anyway, let's get on with what's going on for sale. Some of these you would have already heard because I did put them out and I didn't know how long they would last. So we'll get started. Annie's has a really cute lace pullover. It's a crochet pattern. It's called Samsara Lace Pullover. The pattern runs $6 to $8 depending on whether you get a downloaded pattern. If you get a download pattern, print it for yourself, it's cheaper. So anyway, that is the Samsara Lace Pullover. And then you guys know me and pocketbooks, and there are several other of you who watch. You know who you are that love pocketbooks. Yeah, it's my addiction, sort of. Other than yarn, it's my addiction. And yes, I saw one over on Annie's. This is a knitted pattern. It's called the Half Linen Stitch Purse. The pattern is $6.49, and it's like a tote bag, which basically means it's kind of a square to rectangle shape, and it's open at the top. I use tote bags as my pocketbook, but you can just use them for carrying stuff, you know, whatever. So anyway, that is Annie's. Bluprint I advertised earlier this week because the sale ends tomorrow, which is Sunday. So yes, I will put the date it ends because I don't remember offhand what that date is. But anyway, yeah, it ends Sunday. So if you're watching this on Saturday, it ends tomorrow. And they are offering 40% off of everything. Everything 40% off. Yes. I think I'm going to do a little shopping over there as soon as I finish filming this podcast, because I made a poncho a while back and you guys have seen it. It's like a plaid looking poncho. And I ran short of the yarn, so it doesn't fit as loose as I would like it to. So I'm thinking I might buy more of the colors that I need for that poncho, and then I could make it a little bit bigger. Yes, because it's just a little snug around the neck. And I'd like it to kind of hang down a little bit further than what it does. So yeah, I'm going to be buying a little bit. Anyway, that is Bluprint. You do need to use the coupon code Made with Love. And again, that ends on Sunday. Consumer Crafts. They have free shipping on all orders through Sunday. Sunday's March 15th. Just saw the date. Sunday is March 15th. So Bluprint sale ends March 15th, and so does Consumer Crafts. They are offering free shipping on orders over $25. Now, if you like making dishcloths, that's where you can get your best prices on Lily's Sugar and Cream. They got tons of selection. They're not on sale. They're $1.97 all the time. So that's cheaper than any place else, and if you have $25 worth, you can get it for the shipping for free. They also carry a copy. It's like identical to the cart that IKEA sells. It's the 3-tiered cart that rolls around. I've got 2 of them. Yes, I've got 2 of them, and you could get free shipping on those. That is a good deal too. Then we have the Dollar Tree. Now the Dollar Tree, the tool that I showed in the acquisition section, I got off of Dollar Tree. It was $1 per spool. You do have to buy 4 of them, and if you pick it up in your store, there's no shipping cost. There's like I think I paid 88 cents in processing fee or something like that, or handling. It was like 88 cents. But there's no shipping cost for it. So that's the Dollar Tree. Knit Crate is still offering their $5 deal. If you want to try your first box for $5, luxury yarn, 2 skeins, you can do that. You do need to make sure you have to click through the link down below And you do need to make sure, if you don't want to continue it, that you cancel it before the 1st of the month, because that's when they will automatically bill you. So just be aware of that. Knit Picks has their bear yarn on sale this month. It's for 20% off. Bear is not as like bear like animal, but bear as in nothing on it. So it is undyed yarn. So if you like to dye yarn, or you want to experiment with dyeing yarn, that's the type of yarn you use. And it's on sale for 20% off this month. They also, because of St. Patty's Day, all of their green yarn is up to 40% off. So it was funny, I went to Knit Night the other night. We met at McDonald's. Everybody was wearing green, and it wasn't even intentional. We were laughing. It's like, did anybody secretly send us all an email? It was like every single one of us, without thinking, showed up. It wasn't even St. Patrick's Day. And we all showed up wearing something green. It was kind of funny. And 2 of them were actually crocheting something that was green. So it was kind of a moldy evening. Yes, looked like we were doing like, yeah. Anyway, it was fun, but we were all wearing green. So Leisure Arts, they have a pattern called Northern Lights Knits. It is 8 Icelandic projects using Lion brand yarn. From the pictures, it looks like they are using like a worsted to bulky weight yarn to make these projects. A good bit of them are sweaters and cardigans, because I went and looked at the patterns. I think there is a hat in there. I think there's a hat in there. But I seem to remember that there's a couple of cardigans in there. And the entire downloadable book of 8 patterns is only $4.99. Yeah, and they're really pretty. I mean, but they are knitted, and they are considered fairly easy easy patterns from what they said in there. They considered, I think, all but one of them an easy pattern. One was an intermediate. So they also, in their crocheted section, they have a book called Back in Style, 30 Made Modern Sweaters, Vests, Bags, Ponchos, and More. It's $9.99. So, I mean, you can't go too far wrong. 30 different patterns for $9.99. Yeah, that's Leisure Arts. Lion brand is offering. Lion's brand has been running some really good sales this last week or two. Anyway, they have 10% off of their new selected yarns. So it's not on all of their new yarns, it's on select yarns. And you do need to use a coupon code NEW10 in order to get that discount. Now, there's something else that's going on. One of them, there's an affiliate that I'm affiliated with. It's actually a division of Knit Picks, but Knit Picks kind of sounds like it's only for knitters. They have a magazine and an actual section as part of Knit Picks that is called We Crochet. And if you buy their magazine We Crochet, which has patterns in it and articles and interviews and things like that, it comes out quarterly and it's $14.99. However, if you spend up to $30 on the We Crochet website, which also sells the same yarns that Knit Picks sells, because like I said, they're sister companies. They sell all the same yarns and everything. If you spend $30, you can get one of the magazines for free. You do need to use a coupon code MAG2 free. So MAG2 free in order to get that. They also are offering up to 40% off of their favorite kits. So those are crochet kits that you can go over and check out, up to 40% off. So that is our Come and Get It section this week. Now on to what is the giveaway about. The giveaway is going to be a skein of Shawl in the Ball. Is that right? Yeah, Shawl in a Ball. It is a Lion brand yarn. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Most of you know about this because I think everybody likes this. It's a 58% cotton, 39% acrylic, and 3% other fiber. I think the other fiber might be what it's wound around, because it's kind of a twisted yarn. And I know this has a color. Here we go. This is Peaceful Earth. And it's got, see if this will show. Oh, that's perfect. You can see it really good. It's got golds. It's got like a chocolatey brown over here. And then there's a green tucked in here and a cream and kind of a light brownish gray right in here. And the yarn weight of this, I think they consider it worsted. Let's see. Yes, they consider it worsted. They consider it a medium number 4, which would be worsted. And there is apparently a pattern on the back of the label, because there you can see it right there. So, how many yards are in this? I just stuck my finger and pulled it out. 481 yards or 440 meters. That's a good bit of yarn here. It's 150 grams. So, what do you have to do to get entered for the giveaway? It's going to run for 1 week, so I will announce the winner next Saturday. In order to enter, you do need to be over the age of 18. I think most of us are, but we'll do that anyway. We can pretend. You have to be over the age of 18. You must be a subscriber, okay? And give me a thumbs up on the video. So be a subscriber, be a thumbs up on the video, and leave a comment of some kind down below. That's all you have to do. So the winner will be announced on next Saturday's podcast. Wednesday's video is going to be about, Wednesday's going to be, Wednesday's video is going to be a Knit Crate unboxing. So, yeah, make sure to stay tuned for that on Wednesday. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast that I'm going to be working on some Wednesday videos and some upcoming videos. One of them, and this will hopefully be next, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, my mother gave me a bunch of vintage, well, she gave me a vintage blanket. She gave me a vintage quilt. She gave me a quilt that she made herself. She's downsizing and it's coming to my house. But these things I like coming to my house. And I also have a vintage woven coverlet from Dave's side of the family. So we're going to be talking antique blankets and antique quilts and antique coverlets. And so that should be fun. So that will be 2 Wednesdays from now. But like I said, this Wednesday's video will be a Knit Crate unboxing. So that is it for this week. It's affecting everybody in the world. I hope you all stay safe, stay indoors, stay safe, wash your hands, yeah, all that. So anyway, I will see you on Wednesday, and thanks again for watching.